guess what? It just doesn't always work that way. I know we want it to, but it doesn't. What I'm talking about is we're expecting everything in life to fall in place, and when it doesn't, we become frustrated. Now, if you've experienced that, welcome to the human race, because we all go through it. Now, many years ago, when I was probably in my late teens, early 20s, whatever, I overheard my youngest sister speaking, and she was frustrated. I don't know if she applied for a job or whatever and didn't get hired. And she said, I'm just tired of everything blowing up in my face. That's the way she phrased it. As if somehow life had zeroed in on her, and like everybody on the planet knew who she was, and we were all conspiring to get her. Now, I understand that because sometimes I felt that way too, and I bet you feel the same way sometimes as well. But disappointments, it turns out, are a part of life's experience. They're just there. I mean, we have these roadblocks, and I'm trying to be philosophical about this because I got to tell you, I don't like roadblocks at all. I want a straight path. I want, use the analogy of taking a road trip. I don't want there to be any traffic jams. I don't want there to be any traffic cops, on the side of the road with their little radar gun. I don't want any bad weather. I want every driver to be courteous, no tailgating. I want it to be absolutely positively perfect. That never happens, does it? Okay. What about in life in general? That doesn't happen. Still, when we hit those roadblocks, we get mad sometimes, get flat out angry. We say, man, I'm going to get tired of these things blowing up in my life. So here I am, nearly 7 years old. Now I'm going to share with you some of the experiences that I've had because I know where you are because I've been there, unless you're older than me, which you may be. But, I've been down that same road. And I just want to share with you, here's kind of what I expected. And number one, the advantage of roadblocks is that they dismiss our sense of entitlement. For some reason, we've got this thing in the back of our minds that the world is supposed to be just this perfect place, that everything is supposed to go according to plan or according to expectation. So we have this sense of entitlement that, we are the king or queen of the universe. We will never admit that openly, but yeah, we kind of have this little sense of self-importance, almost narcissistic, if you will. And it doesn't always go the way that we want it to. And as we look back at our lives, particularly as people with Asperger syndrome, it almost never. It's like people were intentionally, willfully, purposely throwing roadblocks in front of us. And guess what? A lot of times they actually were. Because they saw you as kind of the weird guy, the little space alien. And it was fun. To some neurotypical people, to bullies, it's actually fun, literally tripping you up. I don't know if you've ever been tripped as a kid when you were in school by some bully or somebody just pushed you for no apparent reason, just to feel controlling. All right, so we have these roadblocks in our lives, and sometimes they're difficulties we faced as children. Sometimes we're being bullied at the workplace as adults. But one thing it does for us is it removes that sense of entitlement. Well, in so doing, they can strip our sense of self-worth. They can rip away our sense of, what is another term for self-worth? Just that sense of the self, the sense of being, that somehow we just don't belong here. Maybe we shouldn't have even, we start getting extreme and depressed. Maybe we shouldn't have even been born. But the good thing is we don't go to the other end and have that sense of entitlement. So now the objective is to bring ourselves back to the center so we can be centered. So we understand that we're not entitled to anything, but on the other hand, we don't deserve to be bullied and to be abused. Number two is one of the advantages of roadblocks is that success often leads to failure. I guess we could talk about people who win the lottery, they make millions of dollars. Some of those people do very well. They have enough sense to invest the money and they retire. Other people, they blow the money and at the end, they have fights in their family and people are bugging them for money and get mad if they don't give it to them. And their life is just a total mess. But let's not talk about that. Let's talk about people who legitimately are successful in life. Where do you find people like that? There's a bunch of them out in Hollywood. So let's go to Hollywood and let's meet some of these people. I'm not going to name names, but how often have you heard about maybe a child star who went to Hollywood? Thank you, parents. Went to Hollywood, had a spot in maybe a sitcom or whatever, and did extremely well. Or maybe had a role in a movie, did extremely well. Maybe had 3 or 4 roles. And by the time they're in their early 20s, they're on drugs. They're on narcotics. Their life is a mess. They're trying to check into some kind of a detox center. The social life got the best of them because they were trying to climb that social ladder, and in some cases, they're dead. They just did not survive. It's really tragic, but there are a lot of people like that. Young kids went to Hollywood, made it big. Would think, oh man, talk about have a entitled life. These people got it. So what happened? Well, what happened was success is often the road to ultimate failure. So you're driving down the highway. Wow, what a nice drive this is. No other traffic on the road, no problems whatsoever. But sometimes that is a road that leads to a bridge that's out. And, maybe there are signs along the way that say, hey, the bridge is out, turn around, go back. But you are so confident that you just keep going full speed. And then you find out the hard way that I should have paid attention to those signs because the bridge actually is out. Now, having said all that, just like there's some people who do very well after they win the lottery, there are people who go to Hollywood, do very well, and they have great lives. Name one. Well, Pat Boone is the first one that comes to my mind. What a great guy. I think he's still alive. Has to be in his 90s. But, had a family and grandkids and the whole thing, did super. So it is possible, but what happens is we need to keep in mind that success is not always what we think it's, the end game of success is not always what we expect it to be, unless we make it that way. Number 3 is we discover that you can't travel 2 paths at one time. Now, you may be asking, why would you even want to do that? Well, sometimes we're so anxious for success, particularly as people with Asperger syndrome, that we try to overdo it, We get out there and we say, okay, I've been beaten down for so long now, and this is a good thing, have some confidence. But there's also a bad thing where you get too much confidence and you think you can do something that you just cannot do. Well, there comes a point in time, and I'm sure you know this, where you've got to be realistic and assess your abilities and your disabilities, what you can and cannot do, and take a direction in life that accommodates both your abilities and your disabilities, your inabilities. So, again, we were talking about a road trip, right? That's always a good analogy. And what road are you taking? Well, it depends by and large on the vehicle you're taking. Now, if you want to take an interstate highway, I would recommend a Corvette. I'm talking about an interstate highway that doesn't have a lot of chuck holes in it. You hit a chuck hole in a Corvette, you're all over the place. I mean, you may spin out. But I'm talking about a good road. Okay, that's a Corvette. Now, if you're going to go the mountain road, the one that is barely there, well, you know it's there because it's on the GPS, but if it weren't for that, you would not even know it's there. You need a four-wheeler. You need an all-terrain vehicle if you're going to go that route. Okay, well, those 2 vehicles are equipped differently, right? Well, how are you equipped? Take an assessment of who you are and who you are not. And the Corvette and the all-terrain vehicle are not the same vehicles. It's not that one's better than the other. Personally, I prefer the Corvette, but that's a preference. It's not that one is better than the other. It's just they're equipped differently for different roles. So how are you equipped? What is your role in life? Well, it's based upon how you're equipped. What are you good at? What are you not good at? Take those things into assessment. Now, when I was putting my notes together, I recalled that Michael Jordan, when he was a basketball player, decided that he would play baseball, professional baseball. Well, why not? I mean, he's a good athlete. Well, it turns out that even though he was extremely good at baseball compared to most of us, he wasn't anywhere near as good at baseball as he was at basketball. Still, he was an excellent athlete when you put that bat in his hand, but he wasn't the all-star that he was in basketball rather. So the point is, you may have some strong points, but you got some stronger points. And the objective is, as you evaluate yourself, what am I equipped with? Look for those parts that are strong, and that's what you want to use. How hard is that? So if you're a person with Asperger syndrome, if you're like most of us, you have challenges with social interaction. Okay, that may be a weak point. That doesn't mean your Corvette is broken. It just means you don't want to drive it down a mountain road. You want to take a different path. All right, number 4 is this. Just admit openly, forward, in your face, that you are not equipped for certain things. We were talking about professional baseball, professional basketball. I could be mistaken here, and guys, if I am, please correct me, but I'm fairly certain that I'm not equipped to play professional basketball. Never was. Talk about can't jump. I can't jump. I can dribble a basketball. I can run. I just can't seem to do, I can't seem to do both at the same time. And my understanding is if you're going to be a professional basketball player, one of the requirements is you have to be able to dribble the ball and run at the same time. And if you can't do that, you don't make the cut. I got to tell you, I'm not equipped to play professional basketball. Come to think of it, I'm not equipped to play any sports of any kind ever. I just faced reality. It's not real pleasant. Sometimes, I'd like to be the athlete so I could be a big deal like these other guys. Well, guess what? They have deficits too. Different from me, but they are unique people. Well, maybe I want to be a rock star. I can't imagine dancing around on the stage like, what's that guy's name? David Lee Roth used to do. There's no way I could do that. But hey, it pays pretty well. You can make millions of dollars. I mean, millions and millions of dollars if you're really good at it. And basically, all these guys are doing is making noise. Hey, I can make noise. I mean, how hard is that? All you got to do is make noise, and people want to listen to enough, they'll pay to hear it. So I'm going to make some really good sounding noises, and I'm going to be a rock star. I don't think it works that way, do you? No. So what we're talking about is this. We're talking about being equipped, finding out what our equipment is and how to use it most proficiently. Number 5 is we need to keep in mind that we are always on the road to, let's call it enlightenment, but what I really mean is learning. Again, I'm 7 years old. I've learned a thing or two, and there will come a point in time when I'm dead and gone, and the learning will be over. But I'm not dead and gone, so I'm still learning. That's life's process. So when you face those barriers, those roadblocks in your life, those things that you think are insurmountable, and sometimes they are, what do? Well, you learn this is insurmountable. I can't climb Mount Everest. I can't get around this thing, or I can't get over this thing, so I'm going to have to go around it. I got to find it. The bridge is out. This big old sign says bridge is out. I'm not going to keep going and drive into the abyss or whatever. I'm going to turn around and go the other way. I've learned. When you have to face roadblocks, think of that not as the dead end of your life. Think of it as a sign that says turn around and go the other way. Now, assuming that you drive, at least occasionally, you know what that's like. The other day, I was driving, I think, to a restaurant we like to go to in the next town over. So I was driving down the country road, and that was very nice of them not to put a warning sign. But I got to the end of the road, and they were doing road work, and they had the whole thing blocked off. Detour, turn around and go back was the detour. So I had to turn around and go find an alternate route, which was not hard to do. It was just aggravating that I wasn't warned ahead of time. And I had to wait an extra 5-10 minutes before I got my dinner. That's annoying. So roadblocks are there as learning instruments. So let me ask you this. Stop and think about this for just a moment. What was the roadblock in your life that comes to mind? If I were to ask you right now to identify a significant roadblock in your life, maybe at the present, maybe in the past, what would that roadblock be? Okay, if you're thinking of it, then let me ask you a second question. What did you learn from that? And if you say, I didn't learn anything, well, you're missing the whole point. I'm not saying it's pleasant. I'm not saying it's a good learning experience. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. But what I'm saying is if you didn't learn from that major roadblock, whatever that thing is that's holding you back or didn't let you go through, then you miss the value of the roadblock. Then finally, number 6 is this. We think sometimes that our lives could have been so much better if only. And then you fill in the only with whatever. But if you're a person with Asperger syndrome, chances are you're filling in that blank with, if only I was not autistic. I was watching a documentary the other day on YouTube about a guy, I think his name is Peter Best, and if I'm wrong, correct me, but he was a drummer for the Beatles. And he got cut just before they hit the big time. And, the question is, how would that guy's life been different if he had not been cut, if they had not replaced him with Ringo? What would have happened? Richard, what's his name, Starkey? What would have happened? I don't know why they cut the guy. One story was that he was charismatic and attractive, and when they'd go out on gigs, he'd attract all the young ladies, and the others were kind of standing around watching. There's another story that says that, well, just Ringo was a better drummer. But I don't know. But the question is, what would have happened if he had been one of the Beatles, if he just stayed with the group? The answer is we don't know. We don't know. It could have been that without Richard on the drums, maybe the Beatles never would have become the Beatles as we know them. Maybe it would have been even worse than being alone. The answer is, again, we don't know. Could be the Beatles phenomenon, never would have happened. Now, if you're a Beatles fan, that just terrorizes you. Personally, I am a fan of the Beatles phenomenon, the way that they were able to pull that off and become phenomenally successful. But there's some people out there who are going to shoot me for saying this, but I never cared for their music. Even when I was a kid, they first came out. Nah, I liked the Beach Boys. I liked anything that was harmony, Four Seasons, that type of music. But that's personal preference, got nothing to do with what we're talking about other than what if? What if? What if? Well, we don't know. So maybe if the bridge had not been out, maybe if the roadblock had not been there, things would have been worse than they actually are. You see those 2 rectangles on the screen. If you want our conversation to continue, all you got to do is click one of those 2 rectangles. We keep on talking together. But if not, thanks for stopping by, and we will see you all next time.